Hello and welcome again. In the last lesson, if you remember, we looked at the topics which we will study in our lectures. There were quite many: income tax, corporation tax, and many more. Now, before we move to our first topic, which was income tax, as I said in our last lesson, let's look at the tax itself, why we need tax at all. Say, for example, there was no tax, then we won't be studying this subject. Having said that, there is a word called tax, so that's why we need to look at why the government needed tax at all. Now, the government has lots of expenses, but we just look at the income perspective because we are paying tax, so that's why we think, government is earning too much money in the shape of taxation. Because I am paying tax, so I will be concerned that where the government is spending the money. Now, if we go out and see the roads, who is making the roads? Obviously, government is making the roads. Say, for example, hospitals or schools. So there are lots of expenses government has to spend on. So the government's source of income is taxation. So that's why government is taking tax and paying to someone else to do the job, which is, say, for example, roads, hospitals, railways, and education as well. So there are lots and lots of expenses. So that's why government is charging us taxation so that they can spend money on equal portion on the equal population. So for example, the roads outside, they are not mine. Obviously, although I am paying for it, I'm paying a portion to build the road, but they are not my property, they are public property. So I can use it and you can use it as well. So they are property of the public, everyone can use it. So that's why, say for example, there was no tax and I won't be paying tax. So I will be getting a salary which I don't have to pay tax. Then the government will not have any money to spend on the roads. So who will make the roads then? I won't make roads, you won't make roads, because you will think, everyone will use it. Why would I spend on it? So that's why there was need of a thing called taxation. So that's why the tax we pay, the government collects it and government spends on different projects, including education, hospitals. Say for example, NHS. Who is running NHS? National Health Service. Obviously, government is running. Now, NHS, some of you might not be aware of NHS. It is a health department of UK. It's a health regulatory body of the UK. Anyways, let's move forward then. So after having said that taxation, we now know that why we need tax at all. Now, if we look at the taxation in the UK, now who is collecting taxation? Although we know it that in every country government is collecting the taxation, but someone on behalf of the government is collecting taxation. Say for example, in the UK, the tax collecting body or regulatory body is called HMRC, or Her Majesty's Revenue and Customs, right? So shall we write it down here then? HMRC. Now this is the body who is collecting the tax on behalf of the government. They will be responsible for collecting the tax, and then after collecting the tax, and then they will spend on different projects. Obviously they won't spend, they will give it to government, and responsible people will do that. Now there will be people working for HMRC. Now in our textbooks, and we know them as HM Revenue and Customs officers, right? So revenue and custom officers, you can say them. They are working for the HMRC and they are responsible for collecting tax and all the other requirements, right? Now, the types of taxes which we will be studying in our lectures, there will be two types of taxes. Obviously, the topics which I told you in the last lesson, there were quite many: income tax, corporation tax, inheritance tax, and value-added tax, and capital gains tax. So if you see at end of each topic, the word called tax is coming. But another tax which we will study, which I haven't listed there, is called national insurance contribution. National insurance contribution. So although we will be studying for tax, but we will be studying for national insurance contribution as well. Excuse me. Now NIC, or NI if we know it as just the NI. Now NI is also another type of tax. which we pay on income. So for example, if I am being paid a salary from AccountancyTube, I am paying income tax as well as national insurance contribution. So likewise, AccountancyTube as an employer will be paying some sort of NIC as well. So we will see later in details, but for now, although you know that we will be dealing with taxation, we know what tax is. NI is also a tax, a type of tax which we have to pay. Businesses have to pay and individuals have to pay on their salary, and self-employed as well, but we'll see later in the details. Now if we talk about the tax itself, there could be many types of taxes. Apart from the ones which I told you yesterday, there are other types of taxes we need to know. Now the tax, if we see, there are two types of taxes. One is called direct tax and other one is called indirect tax. Now direct tax, from the word direct, you have an idea that it is direct. Now it's simply tax which is collected directly from the taxpayer is called direct tax. So for example, if I am paying the tax, so my tax will go directly to HMRC. So HMRC is collecting directly from myself. That type of tax is called direct tax. So say for example, income tax is a direct tax, corporation tax is a direct tax, and all the taxes which I have listed in the last lesson are direct taxes, except one, which is value-added tax. So all the taxes are direct taxes. Value-added tax or VAT is indirect tax. Now why is VAT indirect tax when others are direct taxes? Now as I explained earlier, the definition of direct tax is a tax which is collected directly from the taxpayer. Now corporation tax, who pays corporation tax? Businesses pay corporation tax directly to HMRC. Income tax is paid by the taxpayer. I pay income tax directly to HMRC, although via my employer, but I pay directly to HMRC. As far as VAT is concerned, VAT is not collected directly from the taxpayer. So say for example, if I go to a petrol pump and put some fuel in my car, now I am paying for the fuel and I am paying for VAT as well. Business is charging VAT. Now, excuse me, although I am paying for the VAT, although business is charging me some VAT, but business will not put that money into their own pockets. Obviously they will pay to HMRC. So although businesses, petrol pump is collecting tax from my pocket, which is VAT, but they are not keeping in their own pocket, they are paying to HMRC. So that is why although I am paying VAT, but I am not paying directly to HMRC. I am paying to petrol pump or business owner, and then business owner will pay to HMRC on my behalf. So that's why it is called indirect tax, because I'm not paying it directly to HMRC, right? So that is why it is called indirect tax. Another classification of taxation is called revenue or capital tax. Now these revenue and capital tax, this is another classification. Now the revenue tax is paid on cash and capital tax is paid on property. Now if I tell you just this, you may know from the last topics which we seen in the last lesson, there were corporation tax. Could you please tell me where will it go? Corporation tax will go here. It is revenue because company is paying on their own cash, right? Now inheritance tax will go here because they are paying on the property. Inheritance tax is capital tax. What else we have seen in the last topics? Capital gains tax. Capital gains tax also is a capital part of taxation. Income tax, if we see, income tax is revenue tax, right? So these are some other classifications of taxation. One is direct or indirect taxation, and another is called capital or revenue taxation. Now apart from these, if you remember from your last studies, I told you that we will study the income tax in our next lesson. Now if we talk about the income tax, as I told you that there could be many sources of income. In the next lesson, I will list down all the sources of income, and we will see how to make the income tax pro forma itself, where all the incomes will come down, and I will list down all the incomes, all the sources of income. But before we move to that specific topic, let me tell you another interesting topic. Now, the purpose of taxation, as I told you earlier, is to collect the money from the rich and spend on the poor. So, for example, if I am not paying tax, I will get richer and richer because I'm not paying tax. And on the other hand, if someone is poor and they don't have any money to spend, they will get poorer and poorer, and they will have to pay for the health as well. There won't be NHS because I won't be paying tax. So that's why they need tax. Now, the government has a policy to collect the taxation from the richer, as I said. Now, but government is not that unfair. They say that you have to pay tax as far as you're earning much. So there is a threshold up to that. If you're earning up to that, then you don't have to pay tax. That is called personal allowance. So, for example, if I am earning, say, for example, £10,000 and 10,600 pounds a year, then I don't have to pay tax. That is called personal allowance. Now, 10,600, as I said, if I am earning up to that amount per year, that is per year, per annum. So if I am earning 10,600 per annum or lower than that, then I don't have to pay tax at all. So that's why the government is fair. The government is saying that if you are earning much money, excuse me, then you have to pay tax. Otherwise, if you are earning £10,000 and 10,600 pounds or less than that a year, then you don't have to pay tax at all. So why is this made? Why is this amount? Why not 11,000? Why not more than that? Now, this figure is made by the government officials. They know what is the inflation rate. Inflation is simply the level with which the prices are increasing in an economy or in a country. So government considers the inflation in a country, that what is the ratio of increase in the prices of necessity. So they will think about the flour, they will think about the food, sugar, milk, and etc. etc. They will be thinking about the different things and say, they think that 10,600 a year is pretty much enough for an individual to survive in the UK. They can pay the rent, they can buy the food, and they can give some money to their kids as well. So that's why they made this figure. And this figure, 10,600, they keep changing every year. So say, for example, in 2010, if you look at your past papers from the ACCA website, although I encourage you in the last lesson, you do not look at that, but I'm just saying. If you look at past papers from 2010, there will be a personal allowance of, say, 6,000 something. That's why I'm saying that government is increasing this amount each and every year so that they know that this figure is equals, so that this figure is necessary to someone to survive in an economy. So that's why they choose this figure. So it could be different next year as well. And that is for Finance Act 2015. As I said, it will be changed in the next year. Right? Now, after looking at these lectures, after looking at these topics, there is another topic as well, which is called disputes. Say, for example, I am paying salary and I'm being paid salary, so I pay tax as well. But what if I think, government is deducting too much tax from me? I am paying overpaid. I am paying more tax. Sorry, I'm paying more tax than what I should have paid. Then what shall I do, right? So I will have to go to government. I will have to go to HMRC, right? So there are two types of tribunals where I can go, right? So there are two types of tribunals. I'm just talking about the salary, but there could be many other complicated scenarios as well. Say, for example, businesses and all that. So say, for example, if a business has paid more tax and they think they should have paid less tax, then they can go to HMRC. So there are two levels where they can go. First is called First Tier Tribunal. first tier tribunal, and the other one is called upper tier tribunal, right? So first is a first tier tribunal, and other one is called upper tier tribunal. So that's where someone can go and say, if I am being treated unfair or whatever. So there are two types of tribunals. Why there is need for two? Why not one? Now, as I given the example of myself, if I'm being paid a salary and I'm being charged more tax, I can go to first tier tribunal. Why shall I go to first tier? Why not upper tier? Because I have less salary and I'm paying less tax. That's why. If say for example, I am a millionaire and I am earning much money, I have a huge business, then I can go to upper tier tribunal if I have millions of pounds of taxation, right? So in big businesses, say for example, if I have to make a big amount of taxation I have to pay, then I will go to upper tier tribunal. Otherwise, I will have to go to first tier tribunal in case of small businesses or small tax liabilities. So more complex cases will go to upper tier tribunal because it is a senior level of a tribune. So that's why it is later. But first we will have to go to first tier tribunal, like I said of my own self. Now, assuming if I go to first tier tribunal and they say, and they reject my application and they say, no, you have to pay this tax, which we said earlier, then in that case, if I may choose, I can go to upper tier tribunal, even if I am a small individual, even if I have less tax to pay, I can still go to upper tier tribunal. But first I have to go to first tier tribunal in order to lodge my appeal. Now, this is the way we lodge our appeals, right? So first we have to go to first tier tribunals, and then if we are rejected or our application is rejected, then we can go to upper tier tribunal. And if we have a huge business, say for example millions of pounds of taxation we are paying, and then we have any problem, then we can go straight to upper tier tribunal, right? So that's it for now, and we will see our first lesson, which is income tax, in our next lesson. Till then, goodbye.